You maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you! Damn you all to hell! Even Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. Oh, Dr. Zaius. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. I'm John Renton with the retro view of Planet of the Apes from 1968 with Charlton Heston saying, "Guns don't kill people, apes with guns kill people." And so many iconic lines and a very obvious twist that really, if you'd seen any Twilight Zone episode, even back then, you would have known it was coming from about 10,000 light years away. That being said, to prepare for the upcoming Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I decided to rewatch this. I'm not going to rewatch the other ones that came out in the 70s because, look, honestly, I don't want to. I don't want to. I am going to watch the Tim Burton one because I need to be reminded of just how bad a reboot can be, and then also the previous three movies to lead up to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Look, as much as I appreciate the fact that this has cult status and has Charlton Heston, has a lot of cool people in it, Roddy McDowall, who is instantly recognizable the first syllable that he says. You can't hide that goddamn voice. And Kim Hunter and a few others. This movie's also kind of boring. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that like it, and I appreciate what it offered, and it does offer some good stuff, but of the two grand sci-fi movies that came out in 1968, this was the lesser of the two. The other one was 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I really enjoyed, and I know some people thought was really, really boring. That being said, oh boy. Yeah, we're going to get into some facts and figures. If you don't know the plot and you don't know this, like what happens in this movie, have you been living under a rock? Do you not know? Yeah, it turns out that he crash landed on Earth. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, sorry. The movie's been out for 50 plus fucking years. Sorry for spoiling. But it was directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, who did, or Schaffner, I don't know. Patton, The Boys from Brazil, Papillion, and Lionheart. Not Chris Jericho. I can't imagine that Franklin would want anything to do with that guy. Also, Franklin J. Schaffner just sounds like a name way too snooty to be involved in something about people in prosthetic ape makeup. So it was written by Rod Serling, which kind of explains the Twilight Zone stuff. And if you don't know who Rod Serling is, go watch The Twilight Zone. He's the guy that does the opening narration, and then is a guy that is constantly smoking. Gee, I wonder what he died from. He was a very, very talented writer, though. And also Michael Wilson, who did Lawrence of Arabia and The Bridge on the River Kwai. It was additional dialogue, which is stuff like, "Hey, you, get off that," and "Ape Law." John T. Kelly, and based on a novel by Pierre Boullier. I actually don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry. I assume the guy's dead by this point, so I don't think he's going to be offended. But yeah, Charlton Heston really let his love of guns and racism fly in this movie. I mean, come on. Pretty goddamn well. He's kind of telling us how he's going to end up being, within about 20-something years. Cornelius, Roddy McDowall. But yes, you have Charlton Heston playing George Taylor, who's leading a space expedition that has space jellyfish for some reason. They crash land because the autopilot in 1968, or whatever futuristic year this is supposed to be, apparently 2673. And yet nobody can figure out good autopilot. Ridley Scott did, and then facehuggers got John Hurt and mutated him. Meaning he always looked like John Hurt. Moving on from that. Kim Hunter, Maurice Evans, who is Dr. Zaius. If you can watch this movie and not quote that Simpsons clip, I don't really know what to tell you, but they were finally able to make a monkey out of me. From chimpanzee to chimpanzee. James Whitmore was president of the Assembly. That's a name that's familiar. Linda Harris, my goodness. Jesus Christ. She played the character of Nova. My goodness, how gorgeous she is. Apparently still alive, so good for her. But yeah, Lou Wagner, James Daly, Woodrow Parfrey. I'm sorry, Woodrow. It's a funny name. Jeff Burton, Robert Gunner. And fun fact about the particular facts of this, had a $5.8 million budget, which for at the time in 68, pretty big goddamn deal. That's about $52 million in today's money. $32.6 million gross. And that's almost $300 million, $292.5 million in today's money. Big success of Space Heston. He's just out there wondering how many people he can shoot in space. I don't know why he injected himself with heroin in space. I mean, I assume it was something that actually put him to sleep. And fortunately, he went completely asleep in 2008. I don't feel bad. The guy kind of turned into a piece of shit, so I really don't care. Music by Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith, who made a lot of really great music and unfortunately has been dead since 2004. I knew he was dead. I didn't realize it had been that long. But then again, the guy was born in like 1929. So when he could have scored movies, I mean, you know, things are barely out of the silent film era. I kid, of course. So the ship crash lands and they just decide to get some supplies. And the three astronauts, because everybody else is dead. And then the ship sinks and explodes, and typical Americans, let's poison the planet we instantly crash landed on. It's well shot, it is very well done. It also reminded me of I Shot an Arrow into the Air. If you know that episode of The Twilight Zone, you can kind of see where this movie got about the first 20 or so minutes, which was about the length of the Twilight Zone episode. So they just continue to, they go through the woods and over the mountains to Grandma's house we go, Ape. And yeah, they just kept doing stuff. Heston was basically just being himself. He just was like needling Landon a little bit too much. Hey, we got an Ape movie starring not Michael Landon. I can't help but think that there's something out there in the universe better than man that I can shoot. Because Heston loves shooting, in case you didn't get that. The apes don't actually show up for about 30 minutes. I mean, you see them in the periphery around 20 or so minutes, and then they show up about 30 or so, 32 minutes in, I think. There are these weird scarecrow things that are at the Forbidden Zone. And to hell with the scarecrows. Jeez, Dick, he apparently didn't like Dark Knight the Scarecrow, which actually hadn't come out yet, but maybe he wasn't a fan of The Wizard of Oz. So, there are 3 male astronauts bathing. I really did not need to see Charlton Heston naked, but okay, movie, whatever. How did this get a G rating, even with showing some male nudity? Their clothes get stolen. There's humans in the field. The frolicking cavemen, as I call them. The prosthetics must have been uncomfortable as fuck. They were good prosthetics, do not get me wrong. Some of the production values still hold up to this day. Those couldn't have been comfortable. But yeah, Linda as Nova, my goodness, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Good grief. Rivaled Sophia Loren as far as I'm concerned for back then. When the people were escaping, like down like this, little dip into this river. Those looked dangerous. There was a little bit of an earlier scene where all 3 astronauts were going down a goddamn hill. That looked really dangerous. And he gets shot in the neck. Heston does. Or Taylor does. I'm just going to call him Heston because it's easier. And he gets shot in the neck, so he can't speak for a bit. They call him Brighted Eyes, and then every now and then he falls apart. Then Dr. Zaius shows up. Again, I can't help it. Maurice Evans actually does a really good job. As a full-on, Dick version of, anybody, trying to basically keep his version of the piece. And, yeah, we just get more people, we just get more of, the apes trapping people. Nothing really happens, besides, them getting sprayed with hoses for a little bit. And, Zira, Kim Hunter, takes a liking, so to speak, to Taylor. They didn't go as far as they did in the goddamn Tim Burton version. It's nothing can come, from the Forbidden Zone. Nothing can survive in the Forbidden Zone, but whatever. Cornelius basically has a theory that apes did evolve from men. Yeah. It's like an alternate universe, so to speak, essentially. There was a good chase scene where Charlton Heston managed to escape, and he was in a toga type thing or whatever, a caveman type toga, so everybody's freaking out. Granted, seeing Charlton Heston and likely his tallywhacker going around would make anybody scream. And then Jeff Burton was on display. He was one of the guys that was killed. I believe he's a black guy. Of course, so racist, the black guy got killed like 20th in the goddamn movie. And then take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape. Iconic lines here. Do not get me wrong. There's stuff that still holds up here. Stuff that you can quote. A playground where apes evolved from man? Ooh, ooh, ooh. That was an MST short. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was from the Joel era. Let me know in the comments if you can remember that. But Heston takes a liking, or basically Taylor takes a liking to, Nova. Heston, by the way, was in his mid-40s, and Linda was barely in her early 20s here at this point. So, nevertheless, age difference, I guess, with that is typical in Hollywood. And then he's getting sprayed while Nova's getting, taken away. It's like, it's a madhouse, a madhouse! And he's just losing it gradually. Heston is taken to ape court because he violated ape law, and then he is grilled by Perry Apeson. I'm not sorry at this point. I might as well have some fun. Zero and Cornelius tried to get him to, basically get him off. Gross. Yeah, Roddy McDowell getting someone off. Have fun with that. Have fun. If I have to think of this stuff, then so do all of you people. Hear no evil, speak no evil. Or see, hear, and speak no evil. However that goes. You basically have, you had at one point a shot in the court where they were doing that, and that was creative. That was a good shot. And Dr. Zaius basically offers a reprieve. Basically, tell the truth and I'll let you live. Don't tell this because you're going to fracture our society. Our society of maybe 200 apes. There are not a lot of apes in this, but then again, they had to get actual people. They couldn't have CGI because computers existed in the sense that there were things that you could type on, but you couldn't really get graphics out of them. So suddenly Lucius shows up, or Lucius, or however the hell you say his goddamn name. Some of these characters don't matter. I know that there are some characters that are more prominent in the next batch of movies that I might watch at some point, but I'm not going to watch for the purposes before Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes because I only got about 10 days until it comes out. But he frees him, and Heston insists on bringing Nova along with him. Granted, I would want Linda Harrison along with me too. Look, she's fucking gorgeous. Look at her. She looks fucking great. So now they're on the run. Heston instantly wants a gun, because of course he does. Wants to shoot anybody that, doesn't look like him, because of course he does. They go to the beach. They have a bit of a hideout. There's a cave that has been referred to where Cornelius and, Zara, they've talked about that, and excavations and archaeological stuff. There's a talking doll. All this stuff going on. Dr. Zaius arrives. His mind is blown. He's aware of it, but he's like, I have to act stupid. And then basically he is taken hostage after a bit of a shootout. And Charlton Heston basically holds him hostage and says, give me enough food and provisions for myself and her. We will go somewhere. They literally go 100 feet down the beach, which I kind of find a little bit funny. If he had just walked a little bit, we could have stayed about 30 minutes, or rather the whole movie. But Dr. Zaius goes back on his word and says, no, I'm not going to give you guys, freedom. I'm going to basically take you away. I'm not going to give you freedom, because George Michael hasn't made the song yet. He is trying them for heresy. Heresy! Hair-assy, but then again, they're apes. They would have hair on their ass. Have fun. Again, unseeing this stuff. So, they blow up the cave, and then he realizes he sees the Statue of Liberty. We don't see a Statue of Liberty yet. I'm home all this time. It was home. It's we finally did. Damn you all to hell. And you just lose it, and we see the Statue of Liberty's there, and Noah's confused. Typical look for Linda Harrison, I'm sure. That's mean. But the movie, look, iconic ending. Really, some good stuff, but just honestly, they could have cut 20 minutes out of this fucking thing, and it would have been obviously shorter, and probably wouldn't have been so plotting. But really did reek of a long Twilight Zone episode, didn't it? That being said, still memorable. Just maybe it's just down to age, and down to the fact that so many other movies have done things like this, and the Twilight Zone did this concept better. I would argue I Shot an Arrow into the Air was better than this. I would argue The Invaders with Agnes Moorehead was better than this. But that being said, those were also shorter. Nevertheless, it's still good. Just a bit boring. So, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin, Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. I'll see you soon.